Elation is, there's basically two principal effects of elation. The first, St. Thomas says in another place in his sentences, he says elation basically results in ignorance. Because you think this thing is, and basically you're unknowing at the time. You're not even seeing the truth of the situation, and it's just ignorance. And that's what we're actually seeing. The elation has just led to a bunch of ignorance. The second thing is it leads to shame. Because you had this idea that this thing was wonderful, and that just basically meant that you thought you were better than you are. And that's a lowly behavior, right? And so it brings shame, and as a result, that's what you tend to see. Now, once it brings shame, people don't want to admit that it's wrong because it draws attention to their shame, and that's where we're seeing now. We're living in a church where the church has never been decimated like this in its entire history. I don't care about the Arian heresy. Only 2/3 of the bishops were Arian. I can only name 5 to 10 bishops worldwide that aren't modernist heretics. So don't give me this that haven't been infected somehow by modernism. So don't give me this that somehow or another it's been worse. That's just people trying to make themselves feel better. We're in a worse situation than we've ever been, and we're at a stage, and part of the reason it keeps going down is because they won't admit their baby is ugly. Okay? The last 70 years is just ugly. You gave birth to an ugly kid. Right? And it's just ugly. And the more it ages, the uglier it's getting. Now, you might like it because you're the parent. Every parent loves their ugly kid. But that doesn't change the fact that the kid is ugly. And this is where we're living. It's not until the church goes back to its disciplines and gets itself straightened out. But the discipline's not just in fasting rules and things like that, but also in relationship to the liturgy and all of that. We've got to rein the priests in. They have to be more disciplined in the liturgy, but there's no discipline in the liturgy. Okay, so this elation is the upshot of concupiscence, and this is one of the reasons why we have to be careful that we can suffer from this kind of elation too. You see this from time to time. You get the guy who's really ugly. He sees Bessie Sue, who's knocked down, drag out, gorgeous. The fact that she brings so much pleasure to his senses by the fact that she's so beautiful makes him have this elation. He thinks, hey, maybe I could be her boyfriend. Yeah, I don't think so, Jose. That ain't happening. All right. But you see this type of thing happening with people all the time. This is also you see this this elation can be in minor forms. This is why I tell people, I'll give you another example where you see elation happening all the time. 99% of people that are in college have no business being in college. None. I'll give you an example. In the early part of the 1900s, first of all, most people didn't even finish high school. And if you managed to finish high school, then you generally speaking, to get into a college was extraordinarily difficult. And how do we know that? Have any of you seen that 8th grade math exam from 1900? I'll bet you only 10 people maybe in this entire room could even be remotely close to passing that thing. But we've been so dumbed down. But back then, very, very few people had the brains to actually go to college. Out of those people who went to college, so maybe 1 in 50 people that graduated high school might have went to college. Out of that, you didn't just go to grad school. You had to be invited because they had to look and say, hey, you got the brains, you should go to grad school. And that meant only 1 in 10 or 20 of those people actually went. And that was just for your master's. And then in order to get a PhD, that was like 1 in 100 people. Right? So hardly anybody ever got it because the level of the requirement was so high. Now you have people who can hardly tie their shoes thinking, I'm going to get my PhD. Yeah, we see what that is. Now, you got people who have PhDs who have no business doing any of that stuff. Yeah, they think they paid for it, so now they're entitled to it, right? Elation. Oh, I could be this, I could be that, Or you even see this with people, in other places, they run out to Hollywood. I could be a star. Like, I don't think so. All right. But it makes us think that these things are obtainable when they're actually not.